Dear viewers, welcome to this podcast on the state of affairs. We are apologetic for this thing that we have taken a long pause from the last conversation that we have had with the other fellow panelists on uh, cybersecurity. And now there has been a lot of thing that has been happening on the ground. And recently we have heard that civil service results were declared. Mm, Around 1,000 people have made it through, if I'm right in my statistics. And then I have got somebody with me. I thought that this is important because most of the people around and in our country or in my state, they do prefer to listen to the people who have just made it through. And I have somebody with me who I have invited recently, and she accepted my invitation on a short notes. She must be having the other tight schedule because she has cracked it. A lot of people who must be congratulating her. She's Anna Sinha. First of all, congratulations, ma'am, for the results that you have cracked the civil services, and welcome to this podcast on the state of affairs.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Namaskar. Good morning, everyone, and glad to be here.
Uh, let's get down to the conversation because we must be running out of the time because we have lots of questions that I have got from different people who are from different domains of either from academics or from civil service or from who are aspirants yet. The first thing is that you were facing your PhD when the exams actually came up. The first thing is that the decision to join civil service, you could have you are a JRF in the economics subject, and then choosing this thing that you have to give a shot to the civil services. Is there a story that will back it up, or there is something that personally fascinated you to actually get into the civil services? What was it all about?
Um, let's just say it was a coming together of various things that got me here. As a child, I was always interested in school. I was always thinking that yes, to do something for the nation in various fields is definitely my goal. And so I thought that yes, maybe when I grow up, I'll give the civil services. But later, after college, my mother was I'm the only child at home, and it's just me, my father, and mother. So she was not keeping well, and also I got very interested in academics. So for that time I got a little swayed away from my commitment to actually appear for civil services. Both my parents are professors, and it was a very academic background that I had, and I was very interested in economics. So then I cracked the JRF, I appeared for my MA, I got the merit scholarship there as well, and then for my PhD. But what happened is the lockdown came, and even if that was a very hectic period for me because all the household responsibilities fell on me at that time. It also gave me some time to pause and think about where this was going, where life was going. And it was also the time when some seniors of mine who are already in the services, they kind of egged upon me that you should try and why don't you give the exam. So these things got together, and may I add that I've always been part of various think tanks like Defense Research and Studies, BRICS, International Forum. I've also interned at the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So that background in policy was there. The interest was always there, but because of my situations, I could not appear. And the final push came when people who were already there, they told me that, you should take the leap of faith. And then I finally appeared. So it's been a long journey, very meandering, not straight.
There is something that most of the people don't get about it. I mean, when I was preparing for the civil service back in 2013, 14, I was in Delhi, and then this thing, I was, a fresher from the university. I passed my master's from the University of Kashmir, and then I got this idea that I have to go for the civil services. By the hard stroke of luck, I wasn't able to crack it. But then down the line, there are some people who just don't make it. They suffer from this thing that how to make a clear choice between academics and going for the civil services. Is it something that we most often have been listening, and things coming up like this, that you have to have a plan B, because there are most of the people who just go with the passions, who just go with the emotions that they have to, they are careerists, and they want to go for the civil services by ignoring every other thing. It's a high risky thing. They'll just lose wonderful years of their academics, like most of the people who fail, who don't want to, who don't actually who are not able to crack it. They just fail to crack it because they just kind of struggle from this thing, that they have to make a choice between their academics and then between the civil services, because it's a yearly exam. It just consumes entire energy and the time you have had for around 2 3 4 years if you are not able to make it in the first one. So how can one balance, how can civil service aspirants balance this thing, that if they have to go for the academics, if they have to go for the civil service, what is that basic bottom line for the young aspirants who want to crack the civil service and also want to be part of the academics?
Let me tell you, I totally understand every concern that people have when they talk about, what risk should they be taking when they're appearing, and it is indeed a risky exam, because when we see 1 million people, fill the form every year, and the prelims itself has a 1% success rate, and after that the mains, and finally this year some 685 people only have made it. We had an all-time low vacancy, so definitely in our country, which there's so much of competition, it is risky, I will say that. um, but at the same time, uh, it's important that we give it our all. Now, the question is, how do we give it our all? Do we give it our all by only and only appearing for civil services, taking the year off, or we give it our all by balancing things out? I think personally that it's a very personal choice. I have seen people, some of my seniors, who took a few years off after they completed their BA. One of them did their MPhils and then took a year off and then appeared, and they cracked it. At the same time, I've seen in front of me people uh, who took years off and then they crumbled, because life happens. Let's accept it. In our age, there's a lot that's happening. We have responsibilities at home, and this is the time when dreams are built. You feel like living a life, and somewhere down the line, taking a year off affects some people negatively as well. So, my advice to you will be, look at who you are as a person. If you are someone who is in a situation of life where they do not have many responsibilities at home, then I think you can consider taking 1 or maximum 2 years off from this. However, if you are a person who feels that just devoting your time to one thing slows you down. Human beings are very strange people. Our brains are hardwired in such a way that some of us, if we just focus on one thing or if we leave other engagements, we become too lazy, and that affects our performance negatively. So, if you are that person, like trust me, I was that person. I have noticed myself, I am that person. If I don't have many engagements, then my productivity becomes low. So, my advice is that you should know yourself very well. If you can balance things, if you can juggle things, moreover, if juggling with things makes you more productive in general, then you should go ahead with higher studies. Um, Also, the issue of taking the risk, and not having plan B. This is a very old debate, and this is a very, very important debate even now. I personally feel that if you have a plan B, you as a person are more relaxed while appearing for the exam. When you make something a life and death issue, on one hand, you can have a lot of passion towards it. At the same time, the risk increases, and given other situations in life, you can crumble, it can affect you negatively also at a point. So, in my opinion, after BA, assess yourself, who you are, go deeper into who you are as a person, your personality type, and accordingly appear for your entrance for MA. only if you have a very very deep interest in your subject, like I had for economics. Then you should go for even higher than MA, MPhil, PhD. In any case, if you crack the civil services exam with a high qualification educationally, then it's in your favor. um, and also I think it's not a personal issue. If you look at it at the national level, with regards to national interest, civil servants have to implement policies, they have to make policies. If you are more educated when you join the services, maybe you can contribute better in a more informed way to policy. This is not to say that people who have simply gone there after BA cannot. It's all about empathy as well. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're going there with 2 years later or 3 years later just because you pursued academics. So overall, assess yourself. If you're interested in academics, go for it. After MA, if you're very very interested, only then appear for your PhD. And I would suggest have a plan B. Having a plan B makes you more relaxed. And trust me, these days, prelims, mains, all these exams have become very dynamic in nature. When I say that, I mean it's very difficult to follow only one standard book list and crack it. If any of you have gone through prelims papers after especially 2019, you will notice that. In fact, many have started saying that nothing comes from the books. Everything is coming from newspapers, extra knowledge, etc. So to handle that, you've got to be relaxed. Your brain has to be carried with you that day. For that, you need a plan B, you need a fallback, you need to be the best possible you can in terms of mental relaxation. So for that, try to have a plan B.
There are stories everybody is actually coming up with, because everybody has a story to tell, especially the people who have cracked it and the people who have not. There is a part of the preparation when you actually bog down to the pressures from your inside of the mind, and the pressures from the outside, means we are part of the society, and things that you are aging up with the passage of time, and
Yes.
you are out of the choices actually. And then if I jot it down into the simplest thing, is that which part of the entire preparation that you actually discovered it, that it's too much stuff, and then which part of the entire thing that you cracked it until the last thing when the results were declared, what actually kept you down when things were not going your way? What was part of that your preparation? Is there anything, or you were just quite relaxed? Okay, no, if I'm not into the civil service, I still have got PhD into the economics, so what's the thing that you have to worry about? Is it like that, or you have a story, or you have some part of the preparation where you actually got under this sledgehammer and under this pressure that, okay, I'll give it up, or I'll give second chance, or at least there is something I have plan B, I have not to worry about it?
Let me tell you, my journey was very, very charged emotionally and mentally. It was not simple. That I had a plan B, sure, but it's me as a person. When I take something up, then I will just not leave it till the goal is reached. And I think that kept me going. I cannot deny there were many, many points where I felt like I've had enough. It's getting too much now. And many, many times you feel that maybe you are being given way tougher situations to handle than other people who are also appearing. And that kind of gets you down. For example, I just now told you that I'm the only child, and my mother was unwell, and my mother is just not any other mother. She's actually, I keep saying that my best friend got born as my mother. So when she was unwell, I cannot explain in words. These things cannot be explained in words. What an impact that had on me. Throughout my mains, and few days before my interview as well. My interview was scheduled on the very first day of the entire interview schedule, 5th of April. I was running to the hospital for my mother. And aside from that, I was working on my PhD. My PhD is fairly advanced by now. It's on the survey stage. where the first few chapters have been written already and the survey was at its peak. So I was dealing with my survey. I was writing chapters for my PhD. I was cooking at home because COVID time was on and we could not, I'm in Delhi and too many restrictions were here. So we were not having anyone to help at home. I was cooking, I was cleaning. I have not done these things before, did it for the first time. And aside from that, I was engaged with various think tanks. And aside from that, I'm someone who always considers it my duty to give back to my institutions, where I came from, my college, my university, my juniors. So throughout the time of the pandemic, whatever time I would get, instead of sleeping or relaxing, or other people would be watching movies, going with friends, I was taking Zoom calls with my juniors that how to apply for internships, where to apply for PhD. I was helping them fill forms. So at the end of the day, it was so hectic for me that I was barely, my UPSC preparation actually was like a fringe in my whole day. I would somehow take time. When I'm traveling to the university, I would just be reading on the metro. If I'm cooking rice, then I would be reading ancient history, NCRT, that was in front of me. And then I used to think about other people, many of them who are there. Families are okay, they have all the helps around, or they're staying in a PG just preparing for UPSC. Or other friends who are not preparing for it and they're having the time of their lives, enjoying, going for treks, going for movies every other weekend. And here I am every single day cooking, cleaning, going to the hospital, whatever little time, mentoring students, writing PhD, studying for UPSC. I really felt that, maybe God doesn't, should not have been so unfair. And it really got me down. And there are some things in society, in our country, unfortunately, that these are very personal things. I'm sharing it for the first time. That what happens is that even if you are a girl and you are doing everything at home, just like a boy would, still people don't recognize that so much. Other people tend to think that okay, I mean, as a girl, it's okay if she's cooking, but other responsibilities, if she's taking that, just does not register in their heads. And if I were a boy, or I've seen other boys in my family, our brothers, cousins, and all, every little thing they did was so well etched in everyone's minds, and they're respected for that. It used to really get to me because I'm working, not getting so much of recognition also, and time is passing by, and this exam is the toughest exam, may I say, in the country. Many people say so. It got me down, but I will say that these were the things that got me up. I said that if this is happening, if God is giving me this, then definitely I have to prove to him that I am worth the salt. um, I have to crack this exam, and when I do it, that is the time when people will take notice. God will take notice of me. And for me, my God is very important. uh, if he takes note, and if he sees the effort I've put in, then he will bless me with the power to do something for the people of my nation at some point. And that to me is the greatest blessing.
This is very much a lovely response that, uh, and part of the conversation. I wasn't expecting that there are struggles, though everybody has fear part of their part of it. But this is quite inspiring. And one thing that I would agree with you on this, that female aspirants who are, who have to manage the entire thing, the household chores and the work and the preparations. Is there a single line or a two liner about them? I know that it won't be summed up or it won't be kind of summarized into this one or two liner, but there are people who you can inspire, and you have been inspiring through and through. Is there one or two liner or three liner max, which will tell about the girls, aspirants, female aspirants who have to manage between this entire thing? You are an example. You live by that example. You have inspired a lot. You will inspire a lot. And what will that three liner or two liner be when you have to talk about the female aspirants? What they have to do?
I will say one thing. Women are blessed with a lot of emotion, a lot of concern, and they're pressured by the societal pressures we have for them to be in a certain mood. You're very strong. I know that you face some very, very heavy pressures which mostly are unspoken. But I will invoke the image of Goddess Durga here. She is our goddess with 10 hands. What does that mean? It means that a woman is blessed with the ability to multitask, with the ability to have emotions, to face stress, to fight when they have to, and to be concentrated to have knowledge when they need to have it. So, the goddess that you worship, the God that you believe in, try to invoke that in you. You're part of God, you're part of His creation, you're their child, and you can be that God. You can try to be that God by constant efforts. You're in a difficult, more difficult situation, but trust me, when you get out of it, you will be much more capable to take on challenges of your life. And no matter who says what, never give up on your dreams. Never give up on your dreams. You have one life and you will live it according to your dreams.
I hope that all the viewers who would be watching this conversation, they will take due note of it, especially this part. One last thing I would like from you to actually talk upon is is there a single template for preparations? Because most people, even if you are in Delhi, you will just believe in these theories that okay, I have to do this, I have to do that. But people who crack it, they just go with one single list and then it's over. And what's that thing? Is there a bottom line for preparations? Five, six things for the aspirants they have to stick to. What will that template be in 5, 6 points, if I'll say, at the end of this conversation? After that, we'll just wrap it up.
So let's start with prelims. Before even starting with prelims first, you should know that it's a very competitive exam. Most people I've met, they waste the first few attempts in not dealing with it seriously enough. So know your level of competition. Look at toppers, know that how much they were putting in efforts there. Secondly, you should keep your sources very limited and your revisions should be maximized. Now, when we talk about prelims, what is the book list we should follow? I personally did this. For polity, I followed Lakshmikant. For ancient and medieval history, I followed old NCRTs. For modern Indian history, I followed Spectrum, Rajiv Ahir. Moving on to geography, I followed NCRTs of 11th and 12th. I also had geography in 12th, so I skipped the human geography part and just relied on the world and Indian physical geography. For mapping in geography, many people may ask questions. And what I did is I created my own maps of rivers, of hill ranges, of passes. And while creating that map, I made it as clear as possible. Every time I had to revise, instead of opening the books, I would just look at the maps I created for quicker revision. Now, moving on to environment. So, for environment, yes, indeed, at one point I read Shankar IAS. They have some very important definitions on international organizations and various agreements. But after that, I'm mostly focused on current affairs. So you can pick up any monthly magazine. Basically, read one newspaper. I followed Indian Express. And one magazine, you can take PT 365 from Vision IAS, or you can take Insights IAS monthly handouts. That is good for environment. For economy, you can, I have a background in economics, so I didn't have to look at basic definitions. I only followed the monthly handouts plus newspaper. For those who do not have a background in that, you can look at NCRTs for economy. We are left with science and technology. This was slightly tough for me because I'm not very interested in this regard. But again, newspaper monthly handouts. Many people say you've got to follow um, Tata McGraw Hill or Down to Earth. If you have no idea about certain terms like what is 5G, what is voice over internet protocol, etc., you can have a look, but mostly focus on current affairs. After that, so I think this covers all the subjects. Now moving on to mains, how did I deal with it? I did not have time at all. And so instead of really going in for giving 30, 40 tests, I looked at previous year questions. You can pick up any book from Amazon, or if you're living in Delhi, then you can visit Sarai or ORN, and you will have a handout of previous questions. So what I did is I solved those questions on my own, subject wise, not paper wise, like subject wise. First do modern Indian history, then do ancient and medieval. This helps in getting very, very close, detail of how you're doing in every subject. After you've done this, if you have time and you're not like me, then you can go for some test series. You do not have to give too many tests. Few are okay. Focus on full length tests. In fact, I did end up giving some full length tests at, I think I gave around 3, 4 full length tests. That's it. One essay mock I gave. If you have to ask me about essay, how I did it, the most important thing is to have a template. How will you start with the essay? Anecdote or a quote or a story? I started with stories. It's very interesting to start like that. And then body of the essay and how you end. Now, if you start practicing essay mocks just for this, then maybe it will take too much time. So, how I did it was go through previous year questions. I mean, what are the themes around which essays are asked? Try to frame some points, like 5, 6 points on every theme, and go through them. Major task to do in an essay is that when you look at the question paper, you should immediately get some idea that what will be the structure of my essay. If that is done, trust me, 80% of your job is done. I got 132 marks in essay, and I solely relied on just making the structure. Plus, I think cultivating a reading habit outside of UPSC, which I did a lot. I love reading. That gives you many ideas. Now, finally, for the personality test, I got 195 marks. Personality test is just that, it tests your personality. It is not necessary that you know all answers, but you should be able to deal with every question in a very confident manner, and you should show empathy as a person. Many times people will ask you questions based on situations. Given this situation, how will you as a civil servant deal with it? So for that, you need to know that even if you're empathetic, you should appear to be that as well. Uh, Point wise, you should prepare about your home state. You should prepare about your detailed application form, your hobbies, etc. For example, I am trained in Bharatnatyam, I am trained in Hindustani classical, I love reading and mentoring students. So they actually ended up asking me very indirect questions. They asked me about Kuchipudi and they asked me about Videsia, which is a folk music tradition, and somehow I was able to answer because honestly I have been experiencing these arts. So when I could do that, I think that kind of contributed somewhere to the marks. And the current affairs of that, especially that month, very important. If you're someone who's an avid newspaper reader, it will go a very, very long way in doing well in the interview, because uh, interviews are generally very good balances between DAF and current affairs and home state. So I think if we go through this, I've given you my whole strategy. With consistency and focus, you will definitely do very, very well.
So this is an entire this so this is such an elaborate explanation of actually sticking to sticking to a single template. uh, Most of the students do actually just crisscross with this thing that they have to pick up one thing from the one template, second thing. No, you have to stick to a single template. You are through.
Not really. Actually, no. I arrived at this. I have a habit of learning from mistakes. There are people who pick up templates from successful people, and then, life is a very straightforward journey for them. I really learned from my mistakes. You start with suddenly expanding your sources. You like to read, so now you have started reading old NCRTs, also, you're reading new NCRTs for history as well. uh, you are someone who wants to give 60 prelims mocks, but then you realize you do not have time. So I think from those experiences, I'll tell you that this is what I ended up with. The consolidated kind of template is from my own mistakes, and I will tell you that you should, if you want, you can kind of follow it. Uh, I think all toppers will tell you that ultimately, minimum resources, maximum revisions, having confidence, consistency, not relying too much on mocks. This is a good way to go about it. But even if you're crisscrossing, it's part of the journey, and I totally get it. All of us have been there.
Yeah,
So,
that's quite fine with the civil service aspirant, especially that he or she will crisscross with the options and the sources and everything until he or she arrives at a decision. No, you have to just filter down things and then you are through. Anna, you come to the conversation. Thank you for being on this conversation, and I hope that most of the people will benefit from it. You are an inspiration, truly. You just fought hard. It's a battle hardened and a high, very well earned thing. We wish you all the best and congratulations again
thank you.
for this splendid, success. And we wish you a lovely civil service career ahead. All the best for you from the state of affairs and from me individually. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you so much for having me.